He left me everything until she rewrote the story. 10 days after my dad died, my sister had me erased from the will, the house, and our family history. I thought I was going crazy until I found the video, until I heard his voice again. What happened next nearly destroyed me, but it finally set me free. I swear I was only going to stay for 2 weeks, maximum. But 2 weeks turned into 6 months, then a year, and then, well, here we are. Me, almost 50, divorced, jobless, and living in my parents' house like some kind of walking midlife meme. It started after my marriage tanked. And by tanked, I mean my ex-wife told me she was rediscovering herself with her yoga instructor named Blaze. Yes, Blaze. That was apparently the final chapter of our 23-year-long story. She left me for a dude named after a scented candle. So I packed my crap, tossed my wedding ring into a Wawa trash can at 2 a.m., and drove cross-country back to my hometown like a sad Springsteen song. When I showed up at my parents' house, my mom opened the door like she'd been waiting for this moment since 2003. She looked at me with that gentle Catholic disappointment face, the one that says, "You've strayed, but Jesus still loves you." Barely. And then she hugged me. My dad didn't say much. He just pointed at the guest room, grunted, and went back to watching Wheel of Fortune. Classic. I told them it was temporary. I even used those exact words. "It's just temporary, Mom. I need a breather. I'll get a job. I'll get out." Spoiler, I did not in fact get out, because the job market for a 48-year-old insurance adjuster with no LinkedIn and a flip phone is, let's say, non-existent. And also, depression, like real, gnawing, heavy bag on your chest, can't even shave depression. And just when I thought I couldn't feel more like a failure, enter my sister, Margaret. Oh, Margaret. If I'm a barely functioning Target brand middle-aged man, Margaret is a Martha Stewart, Jock, Nancy Grace hybrid on steroids. Perfect house, perfect husband, don't get me started, and the most obnoxiously curated Facebook presence in the Western Hemisphere. You know the type. Family holiday cards in October, matching pajamas, the whole live, laugh, love industrial complex. She didn't say it, but I know she hated me being back home. She'd give me that tight-lipped smile every time she visited, like she was doing mental math on how many towels I was ruining. At first, I tried to stay out of the way. I cleaned, I cooked, I even mowed the damn lawn like some kind of suburban apology. But the vibe was off. Always off. And then, the basement. Yeah, the basement is where shit got weird. See, Dad was always a bit of a hoarder, but a neat hoarder. Old tools, papers, boxes stacked like a Tetris god. One day, I went down there to look for the vacuum, and I found the drawer. Just a regular-ass metal drawer, buried under some tax files from the 90s. I opened it out of boredom. Inside, letters, dozens of them. Handwritten, typed, some on legal letterhead, and I swear to God they were all drafts of his will, like version after version after version. In one, everything went to Margaret. In another, 50-50. In another, he left me the house and her the car. I sat on the floor, reading them, and felt like I was watching a man trying to solve a Rubik's Cube made of guilt. I wasn't even sure if I should be reading them. It felt wrong, but also kind of right. And here's the thing. One of those drafts, the most recent one, was dated like 8 months ago, long after Margaret's last visit. And in that one, the house, the land, everything came to me. That's when a little voice in my head whispered, "Don't tell her." And I didn't. I scanned that sucker and saved it to my hard drive like a digital, just in case. I didn't even tell Mom. I just kept it, like a backup plan, or a secret weapon, depending on how things went. I mean, maybe that makes me the asshole. Maybe. But I'd been invisible my whole damn life. The other kid. The backup son. The one who fixes gutters while she's giving TED Talks on family values. For once, I wanted to know something she didn't. Anyway, Dad's health started getting worse. He wasn't sick, but he wasn't great either. And Margaret started visiting more. She brought food, helped organize meds. She even started talking to his doctors, which was weird, considering she lived 3 towns over and hadn't called him on his birthday in 3 years. And every time she left, she gave me this look, that look. Like I was the help. Like I was in the way of something she was building. And I'm not paranoid, okay? I'm not that guy. But one night, I overheard her whispering to Mom in the kitchen. I only caught part of it, but it was enough. We'll figure out the paperwork. He doesn't need to worry about that. Just sign it for him if it gets too complicated. I stood there in the hallway, frozen, like my spine turned to ice. Paperwork? Sign what? I didn't ask. I didn't confront. I just started digging, and I started seeing things I hadn't noticed before, like how she always took the mail first when she visited, like how she had a key I never gave her, like how she'd whisper to Dad in the sunroom and shut the door behind them. Suddenly, those letters in the drawer felt a lot less like drafts, and a lot more like warnings. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't just visiting anymore. I was standing in a damn war zone, and I didn't even know who started the fire, but I was gonna find out, one way or another. I caught her going through Dad's desk. Middle of the day, no one home but her and me. I walked in, she flinched, smiled like she was just straightening things, and then asked if I wanted lunch, like this was Leave It to Frickin' Beaver. And I said nothing, because I'm a coward. Because that's what I do. I freeze. I stuff it down. I pretend it's fine because conflict gives me hives. But that day my stomach turned inside out. I went back to my room and just stared at the wall, because something was off. Way off. And no one was saying a damn word about it. Let me explain something. Margaret never came by on weekdays. She's the type to plan her life to the minute, like some evil wedding planner in yoga pants. And suddenly she's dropping by at 11:30 on a Tuesday? Bulletin shit. And it wasn't just that one day. She kept popping in. Sometimes I'd find her helping Dad with his pills. Sometimes she'd bring groceries Mom didn't ask for. Sometimes she'd just sit on the porch like she fucking lived there. So I asked Mom, straight up, why does she have keys to the house? She looked at me like I asked why the sky was blue. Because she's family, honey. Oh, cool. Got it. Family? Guess I'm just the raccoon squatting in the attic then. And here's the kicker. When I said it made me uncomfortable, Mom hit me with the classic boomer guilt trip. Well, maybe if you got on your feet, you wouldn't be so worried about who comes and goes. Boom. Right in the self-worth. I laughed. Not like, haha, funny. More like that dead behind the eyes is this real life kind of laugh. Because yeah, I was 48, living at home, shaving every third day, and suddenly it hit me. I wasn't just a guest anymore. I was a problem. A piece of furniture they couldn't figure out where to move. And Margaret? She loved that. You could see it in the way she brought things over like peace offerings, fancy soaps for Mom, gluten-free cookies for Dad, even a fucking plant for me. A snake plant. Very on brand. She was building a case, slowly, quietly, like a smiling DA in yoga leggings. And every time she smiled, I felt like she was saying, "You've already lost, you just haven't realized it yet." So yeah, I started keeping track. Every visit, every shift in Dad's meds. I wrote shit down. I checked timestamps. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, but I knew something was off. Then came the incident. Dad got dizzy one morning, fell in the hallway. Nothing major, just a bruise. But when we got him into bed, he looked at me and whispered, "Don't let her change anything. Promise me." My blood went cold. "What do you mean, Dad?" But he just closed his eyes. So I checked the pill bottles. One was new, not his usual prescription, different label, and the name on the bottle, Margaret Reynolds. She'd filled his prescription, under her name. I went full detective mode, looked up the med. Turns out it wasn't dangerous, but it wasn't what he'd been taking for the past 2 years. And the doctor listed on the bottle, some urgent care clinic 40 minutes away. I confronted her. I waited till Sunday lunch, the sacred roast chicken ritual where no one yells and everyone pretends we're a Norman Rockwell painting. "Hey, Margaret, why did Dad's meds come from a different doctor this week?" She blinked, smiled, sipped her wine. "Oh, his doctor's office was closed and I didn't want him to wait. So you just changed his medication? It's the same thing." "No, it's not. It's not even the same brand." That's when Mom jumped in, like a referee in a family WWE match. She was helping. "You're overreacting. You always overreact." "Oh, okay. I'm crazy now. Cool." I left the table, went into the garage, slammed the door like a teenager. I'm 48, by the way. Just a casual mental breakdown in cargo shorts. That night, I couldn't sleep, because I realized something. They don't think I belong here anymore. Margaret's little mission? It was working. She was slowly becoming the decision-maker, the caregiver, the favorite. And me? I was just some washed-up ex-husband with no kids and a useless resume. The sad part? I actually tried to fix things. I offered to take over the bills. I started cooking dinner more. I even offered to take Dad to his doctor next time. You know what Margaret said? "Don't worry, I've got it covered." Like I was a dog who peed on the rug. But the moment that truly broke me wasn't a big fight. It wasn't dramatic. It was Tuesday afternoon. Mom and Margaret were laughing in the kitchen about something. Some dumb church raffle. And I walked in. They stopped laughing the second they saw me. Dead silence. And I thought, so this is it. I'm the stranger in my own house. And then Margaret said it, casually. But it hit like a freight train. "Maybe you should start thinking about what comes next." Next? Next fucking what? She meant leaving. That was her way of saying it without saying it. The words weren't "get out," but the meaning sure as hell was. I nodded. Didn't say a word. But something flipped in me. Because I knew about the letters, the drafts, the one that left everything to me, and I had copies. She didn't know that. Mom didn't know that. But I did. And for the first time in months, I felt something like power. And if she wanted to play chess, cool, let's play. My dad died on a Thursday. 7:42 a.m. to be exact. Mom was in the kitchen making coffee. I was on the porch checking job boards for the 5th month in a row. Margaret? She just happened to show up 5 minutes later with muffins and a smug little "I was just in the area" smile. I remember thinking, You couldn't even wait until the man's body cooled? She didn't cry. She hugged Mom, patted my back like I was her emotionally unstable coworker, and took over. Immediately, calling the funeral home, arranging the church service, organizing the food, printing the programs, telling me to just be there for Mom, like I was some background actor in my own family's tragedy. And I let her, because grief makes you stupid. It makes you sit down and shut up and pretend like everything isn't burning. So I shut my mouth. I shook hands. I wore the suit that didn't fit, and I stood next to her at the service while she gave a eulogy that made it sound like she personally built the man from scratch. I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because screaming would have made me look crazy. And she already laid the groundwork for that months ago. But then came the reading of the will. That's when it all snapped. We sat in Dad's lawyer's office, me, Mom, and Margaret, in those stiff chairs that feel like they were designed by Satan himself. The lawyer pulls out a manila folder, clears his throat, and starts reading. Everything. To her. Not half, not most. Everything. The house, the land, the savings, the stocks, even Dad's goddamn coin collection he spent 30 years building. All of it. To Margaret. I didn't speak. I didn't breathe. I just stared at the floor like it was going to open up and swallow me whole. And you know what she did? She put her hand on my shoulder and whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't know." Liar. I looked her in the eye, and for the first time, I didn't see my sister. I saw a fucking thief in designer flats. I said nothing. Again. Because I didn't want to break down in front of my mother. Because I still had an ounce of dignity left. But inside, I broke. I broke so hard I'm surprised the windows didn't shatter. And that night, I opened my laptop. I pulled up the scanned will. The one I found in the basement. The one dated just 6 months earlier than the one the lawyer read. The one where everything, and I mean everything, it came to me. Same letterhead, same phrasing, different signature. I zoomed in and zoomed again, and that's when I realized it. The signature on her will looked off, not just different, copied, like someone traced it or lifted it. My heart hit the fucking floor. I pulled out the other versions I had, compared the loops, the slants, the little flick Dad always did on the R in his name, and it hit me like a train. They matched. Too well. No one signs their name exactly the same way. Word for word, stroke for stroke. Not by hand, not across 6 months, not when they're on oxygen and pain meds and barely speaking. So I did what any normal, emotionally shattered, paranoid oldest son would do. I printed both out, put them side by side, and stared. All night. Next morning, I confronted Mom. She was folding towels, acting like the world hadn't just collapsed. "Mom, I need to ask you something. Did Dad sign anything in the hospital before he passed?" She froze. Just for a second. Tiny hesitation, barely a blink. But I saw it. "Honey, I don't remember. It was such a blur." "Did Margaret bring anything for him to sign? Paperwork?" "I think she might have. Something about the insurance. Was anyone else there?" "Just the nurse." "So you didn't see him sign anything?" "No, but I'm sure it was." "You're sure?" She looked at me like I'd just slapped her. I didn't say another word. I just walked out. My hands were shaking. My throat was dry. I felt like I was watching someone take my father's body and rewrite his last words. Because that's exactly what she did. She took his voice, his choice, his legacy, and she made it about her. I left her a note. "Took you 10 days to erase the man's will. Hope the muffins were worth it." I didn't leave it on the kitchen table. I taped it to the inside of her stupid snake plant. And then the one she gave me months ago, thinking I wouldn't notice the poison blooming in the pot. Update 1. Welp. It didn't take long. A few days after I left the note in the snake plant, shit hit the fan. Margaret showed up unannounced. Again. And pulled Mom into the dining room like it was a damn courtroom. I stayed in my room, pretending to scroll Craigslist for jobs, but I could hear them through the vents. "He's becoming aggressive, Mom. I'm worried he's having another breakdown." "Another breakdown? Excuse me? When did I have the first one?" "Oh, right. When I cried at Dad's funeral and didn't want to eat her organic cranberry stuffing. Totally unhinged behavior. Anyway, she told Mom I needed help, like actual professional help. She said the stress of Dad's death was clearly too much for me, and that I was holding on to dangerous conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories, bro. That's what we're calling forgery now? I didn't confront her. I didn't walk in. I just sat on the edge of my bed staring at the wall like a prisoner listening to the guards talk about him. And you know what the worst part was? Mom didn't defend me. Not once. Not even a, "Let's not jump to conclusions," or "He's grieving in his own way." Just silence. And that silence? It was louder than anything Margaret could have screamed. Later that night, I came downstairs and found that snake plant in the trash. Message received. But here's where it gets worse. My cousin Josh, the only one in the family who actually gets me, texted me out of nowhere. "Hey man, Margaret said you've been acting unstable. Just wanted to check in. You okay?" Unstable. That's the narrative now. And once that shit sticks, game over. It doesn't matter if you have evidence. Doesn't matter if you're right. If people think you're unstable, you're done. That's when I knew I had to be careful. I couldn't just march into a lawyer's office waving scanned PDFs like a tinfoil lunatic. I needed to be smart, strategic, because she was painting me as paranoid, and if I gave her the brush, she'd finish the damn mural. So I stopped talking. I smiled more. I played the part. I cleaned the kitchen, took Mom to church, even told Margaret her casserole was incredible. It tasted like sadness and dry quinoa, but whatever. Let her think she was winning. Let her think I was crumbling. But the whole time I was backing up files, printing copies, gathering receipts. Quietly, slowly. Because this isn't a sprint. It's a siege. And I've got nothing left to lose. You ever feel yourself disappearing? Like not dying? Not physically, just fading out? That's what it felt like. Every day in that house, like I was slowly dissolving into wallpaper no one even wanted. Margaret was winning. Quietly. Strategically. With that fake-ass grin and her, "Oh, I'm just here to help" voice. God, I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Because now I had a plan. And I was holding it like a live grenade under my coat. Thing is, you can't hold a grenade forever. I started spending hours at the public library, using their printer, their copier, their scanner. I made folders, labeled shit, highlighted. I even made a spreadsheet, man. Like a psychopath with a grudge and way too much time. I wasn't even sure what I'd do with it, but I had to do something. Because sitting there pretending everything was okay was eating me alive. Then it happened. I came home one night and Mom was waiting in the kitchen. Lights off, arms crossed, like we were in some bad 80s sitcom about disappointment and parental guilt. "We need to talk," she said. God, here we go. She started slow. "You've been distant." Then came the gaslight salad. "I know you're hurting, but this tension is affecting everyone." And finally, the kill shot. "I think you should consider moving out." Boom. Just like that. I laughed. Of course I did. Because what the hell else do you do when your own mother suggests you go be homeless to preserve vibes? "You're kicking me out," I said. "I'm not kicking you out. I'm just suggesting that maybe a change of scenery." Mom, I took care of Dad for a year. Margaret showed up when it was convenient, and somehow she gets the house and I get eviction? She's been stable. She's trying to keep the family together. She's trying to control the narrative. And then she hit me with it. The line I'll never forget. The one that rewired my spine and turned my insides into glass. "You're not the victim, honey. You're just bitter." I swear I forgot how to breathe for a second. Because damn, that cut deep. Not just because it was cruel, but because a part of me believed it. What if I was just bitter? What if all this will forgery crap was me grasping for meaning in a life that crashed and burned the second my wife left and my career imploded? I didn't respond. Just nodded, went upstairs, shut the door, and stood in the dark like some ghost haunting his own life. I didn't sleep. I sat there replaying the conversation in my head, wondering when exactly I became the villain in my own goddamn story. And you know what's wild? That wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came 2 days later. I got a letter in the mail from Dad's lawyer. Margaret had officially filed to transfer the deed. The ink wasn't even dry on the death certificate, and she was already making legal moves. And guess what else? She put in a request for me to vacate by the end of the month. So now it wasn't just Mom suggesting I leave. It was Margaret legally evicting me from the house I grew up in, the one I mowed, painted, maintained, the one I watched Dad die in. I called her. I don't know what I thought would happen. Maybe I'd yell. Maybe she'd crack. Maybe we'd finally have it out. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, everything okay?" That voice. So casual, so sweet. Like she didn't just throw a fucking grenade into my life. "You filed for the deed." "Well, yeah. It's just paperwork." "You told the lawyer to get me out?" "You're being dramatic. It's just standard protocol." "You could have talked to me." She paused. "I didn't think you'd listen." And then, the second kill shot in a week. "This house is full of memories. Good ones. And right now, you're poisoning them." I went silent, because I knew if I said anything, I'd say too much. So I hung up, and I cried. Not like movie crying. Not one poetic tear running down my cheek. I ugly cried. On the kitchen floor. Like a broken 12-year-old. Because this wasn't about a house anymore. It was about erasure. They weren't just pushing me out. They were rewriting the past. Painting Margaret as the good daughter, me as the bitter burnout, and Dad as some fragile old man who just forgot things. But he didn't forget. He wrote that will. He left it for me. And I wasn't going to let them bury it with him. I wasn't going to open it. I swear to God I wasn't. I sat in front of that old-ass safe for like 20 minutes just staring at the keypad, sweating like I was about to launch a missile. And then I did it. Dad's wedding anniversary. 4 digits. The kind of code only someone who actually knew him would remember. Click. Inside. 1 envelope, 1 dusty USB stick, and a note. Not a legal document, not some dramatic letter, just a sticky note with his shaky handwriting. "If anything ever happens, show this to someone you trust." I just stood there, frozen. like I'd found a time bomb with my name on it. I took the USB, plugged it into my laptop, and held my breath. There was only one file, a video, and when I opened it, my whole body went cold. It was Dad, in his hospital bed. Weak, but lucid, talking, alone. The date stamp? 4 days before he died. And the first thing he said? "This is my will." I swear my heart stopped. He looked straight into the camera, voice shaking but clear. "I already signed the paperwork, but if anything changes, if this disappears, I want to make this crystal clear. I want the house to go to my son. He took care of me. He didn't abandon me. Margaret, I love her, but she lies when it suits her." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. He knew. He fucking knew. This wasn't just about who got the couch or the garage tools. This was my dad, on video, telling the truth. His truth. My truth. A truth that had been twisted, buried, erased. If she tells you something different, she's lying. I'm sorry. That last line shattered something in me, because it wasn't just a will. It was a father finally picking a side, and it was mine. I sat there for 2 straight hours, just watching it on loop. Not crying, not angry, just stunned. Like someone had finally pulled the needle out of my brain and I was starting to feel again. I backed it up 6 times. Cloud, flash drive, email. Burned it to a damn DVD just to be safe like it was 2006. But here's where it got worse. I showed it to Mom, because somewhere, deep down, I still wanted her to believe me. I still wanted that one tiny sliver of her that loved me to wake up and see. She watched the whole thing, didn't blink, didn't cry, and when it ended, she looked at me and said, "He didn't mean that. Are you kidding me?" "He didn't mean it," she repeated. He was tired, confused. Margaret was just trying to keep things organized. That's when I knew I'd already lost her. She didn't care about the truth. She cared about control, about comfort, about keeping things quiet. So I left. I walked straight out of the house, got in my car, and drove to the lawyer's office. No appointment, no plan, just fury. I dropped the USB on his desk and said, "You need to see this." He watched it, the whole thing, then leaned back in his chair and said, "We may need to reopen this." May? I laughed, loud, like borderline hysterical, because in that moment I realized this isn't justice, it's paperwork. And Margaret? Margaret was 10 steps ahead, because while I was grieving, doubting, hesitating, she was already cashing out accounts, selling furniture, making herself the legal owner of a house I physically never left. So yeah, now I've got the video, the proof, the truth, but truth doesn't always win. Sometimes it just sits there, glowing on a USB in a drawer while your whole life gets rewritten without your consent. And the part that keeps me up at night, she'll still tell everyone I made it up. And they'll believe her, because she's clean, and I'm cracked. And maybe that's true. Maybe I am cracked. But at least I didn't fake a will and smile through it like it was a fucking brunch invitation. Update 2. Something strange happened last night. I got a message on Facebook. Yeah, I still use Facebook. Bite me. It was from some random account. No profile picture, no mutual friends. Just a name I didn't recognize. Aaron M. And 4 words, "I know what happened." At first I thought it was spam. Or a scam. Or maybe Margaret had finally hired someone to gaslight me professionally. But then they sent another message. A screenshot. It was an email. From Margaret, sent 3 months before Dad died. Subject line, "Regarding Dad's final wishes, we need to act quickly." I felt my stomach twist. I asked who they were. Turns out Erin was Dad's old accountant's assistant. She helped organize estate documents and paperwork for years. Apparently, when Margaret requested updated financials to prepare things in advance, she raised some red flags. Because the timeline didn't make sense. The request came just 2 days after Dad had a minor stroke, when he couldn't write, speak clearly, or consent to anything. And in that email, he's not fully lucid, but he understands what's happening. "I'll handle the paperwork and bring it in for signature. Just need it formatted." So now I know. She didn't just forge a signature, she planned it. She wrote the damn playbook, printed it in triplicate, and handed it out like flyers at a garage sale. I asked Erin why she was messaging me now. She said, "Because I didn't think you'd fight back. But you are, and you deserve to know you're not crazy." I just stared at the screen, because that's it, right? That's what this whole thing has been about. Me trying to convince everyone I'm not crazy, that this actually happened, that I didn't imagine the favoritism or the manipulation or my father's voice on that video. I wasn't crazy, I was just alone. Until now. And now, Margaret has a problem, because she thought I was broken. She thought I'd spiral, quit, fade out. But guess what? I'm still here, and I've got receipts. I didn't take her to court. Yeah, I know, shocker. After all that, the files, the video, the witness, the emotional nuclear fallout, I didn't sue. And before you come at me in the comments like, "You should have burned her to the ground, King," believe me, I wanted to. God, I wanted to so bad it made my teeth ache. But here's what no one tells you. Justice is expensive, exhausting, and slow, especially when the person you're fighting has already poisoned every well you might drink from. Margaret was smart, ruthless, but smart. She didn't just forge a signature, she built a whole narrative. And by the time I caught up, that story was already gospel to half the family. Poor Margaret. Her brother just couldn't handle losing. I could see it in their eyes at Thanksgiving. The polite nods, the awkward pauses, the don't bring up the will tension in every room I walked into. So I made a choice. I let it go. Not for her, not for mom, hell no, for me, because I was tired of living in a story she wrote. So I packed my stuff. Not much, just clothes, my laptop, and a box of old photos that should have been split 50-50, but whatever. I left quietly. No scene, no speech, no note. I just walked out the same door I used to run through barefoot as a kid. I moved to a different state, rented a little one-bedroom with bad plumbing and even worse neighbors, got a part-time job at a used bookstore and started therapy for the first time in my entire damn life. And slowly, painfully, I started rebuilding. It's not pretty. It's not some rom-com comeback where I find love and start painting sunsets or whatever. Nah, it's messy. It's quiet. It's me standing in the kitchen at 2 a.m. wondering if I'll ever fully stop hating her. But you know what? I don't hate myself anymore. That's new. I stopped looking in the mirror and seeing a failure, a disappointment, a ghost of a man who got erased by his own blood. Now I see someone who tried, who fought, who fucking survived. And I still have that USB labeled, safe, copied 3 times. Not because I plan to use it, but because it's mine. My proof, my version, my voice. And when I feel like I'm slipping again, like maybe it really was all in my head, I plug it in and listen to my dad say, "He didn't abandon me." That one line? That's enough. That's all I needed. So no, I didn't get the house. I didn't get revenge. I didn't become the hero. But I also didn't become the villain. I walked out, and I'm still walking.